Clap your hands, all peoples.
Shout to God with loud songs of joy.
For the Lord the Most High is to be feared.
A great king over all the earth,
He subdued peoples under us.
and nations under our feet.
He chose our heritage for us.
The pride of Jacob, whom he loves.
God has gone up with a shout.
The Lord with the sound of a trumpet.
Sing praises to God, sing praises.
Sing praises to our King, sing praises.
For God is the King of all the earth.
Sing praises with the psalm.
God reigns over the nations.
God sits on his holy throne.
The princes of the peoples gather as the people of the God of Abraham.
For the shields of the earth belong to God. He is highly exalted.
Amen. Thank you, Nathan and Ava, for reading for us. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our family service for this month of May. And it is a great pleasure to be back with you. We were in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. I was doing a wedding for Mr. and Mrs. Emmons. The wedding worked. They are now united. Are Steve and Savannah here this morning? I don't believe so. Okay. But pray for them and congratulate them when you see them. It is a joyous thing. It's great to be back with you. And what we're going to do this morning is look at Psalm 47, which Nathan and Ava just read for us. That's right, Psalm 47. It's very exciting. I want us to think about a story that we talked about some weeks ago, and that is the story of Abraham saving the kings of Canaan. This is from Genesis 14. And before I dive into this, we're going to be talking about some things about the culture back in Genesis, and we're going to be talking about our culture right now. And as we do that, you may have questions, and I would like you to text me your questions. I have my phone up here. We did this once before, and at the end of the service this morning, I'm going to take some questions. So text me at this number, and I will answer as many of your questions, your urgent inquiries, as I possibly can. So as we talk about these things this morning, text me your questions as you think of them. So, Genesis 14, Abram has just moved to Canaan. He's followed the Lord's command, and he's just got in there. He's just getting settled, and war breaks out. You remember we talked about this story. The local Vladimir Putin sweeps in and starts taking things over and captures several kings of the Canaanites, among them the king of Sodom. And Sodom is known as one of the most wicked places on earth. Now, here's the thing we need to know about all these kings. All of these kings and these nations have different gods. They all worship different deities, sometimes gods, sometimes goddesses, sometimes several, a whole bunch of gods and goddesses all at once. And so when war breaks out and Vladimir Putin sweeps in, they all call out to their gods, and they all start praying and making sacrifices to be saved from their enemies and to win in battle. And they don't win. They lose. These kings call on their gods, and these gods do not save them because these gods do not exist. And that brings us to something that Abram says. After he goes into battle, he takes 300 men, and he goes to war against this local strongman and saves these 4 Canaanite kings. He wins against 5 other kings with 300 men. It's an amazing feat, and after it's all done, he basically hands the cities of these kings back to their kings. And the king of Sodom is so grateful, this wicked man is so grateful to Abram for doing this, that he says, look, you can have all my wealth. Just take it. You're a rich man now. Sodom was a very rich king in a very rich city. Take it all. You can have it all. And Abram says something very interesting. In Genesis 14, he says, no, I'm not going to take any of your stuff, because I don't want anyone to say that a wicked king like you made me rich. I did this in the name of God Most High. And that's the name we're going to focus on this morning, the name of God that Abram used in Genesis 14. What does that mean? It means that there are all of these competing gods and goddesses that people are worshiping, and in the midst of all of that, there is one God who is above all of them. He is the Most High. He is above everything. I would like to ask some of my high schoolers to come up here, and we want to talk about this idea of Most High. Did they disappear on me here? Come on up here, you guys, and a couple of others. We're going to talk about this question of what it means to be the Most High, and I want to ask you guys. Good morning, Tommy and Josiah, Emmeline. Yeah, come on up here. So, I want to ask you, what is the highest place you have ever been? Emmeline, you want to start?
Probably Panther Mountain at Camp the Woods.
Panther Mountain. How high was it?
I'm not sure.
Panther Mountain. So you don't know how many feet high it was?
No.
Okay. Well, how high did it feel to be up there?
I don't know.
You don't know. So how far could you see?
You can see pretty far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did stuff look real small from up there?
Yeah.
So what could you see from the top of the mountain?
The mountain was overviewing like a lake, and you could see like a bunch of boats, and you could see another mountain.
Okay, and the boats look about like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. Did you get dizzy up there?
No.
Okay, you didn't get near to the edge and freak your parents out or anything?
No.
Okay. Tommy, where?
Did I?
Although
freak
maybe
you
they
guys
did.
out?
I don't know.
Probably that. I'm her brother, so probably one of the highest places we've been. Other than that, we went to the Alps. So we didn't climb to like a peak of the mountain, but we were like, in the Alps still. So yeah, there were it's kind of scary to like look at the mountains
Yeah.
when you're driving. It's like really tall, and you're like in the valleys, so you're just like the smallest thing there.
Yeah, it's kind of intimidating with all of
Yeah.
these mountains up and looming over you. When you were driving around, could you look out of the car and see way down into ravines and scary things?
So like, we were mostly in the ravines, so
Okay.
we were like looking up at them, and then but we weren't. I forget what it's like a musical, the Sound of Music.
Oh, yes.
We were in the land that where
Okay.
it was held. That was probably. We also visited a bunch of castles in there.
Okay.
So that was probably the highest places in
Wow.
the Alps, and yeah, we would like look down from where we just were, and it was really, really far.
Yeah. So you get the perspective looking up, and that's kind of intimidating and scary.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get a little higher up, and you can see where you were.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. The Sound of Music scares me. When they're walking along that cliff there, like the end of the movie, Escaping to Switzerland or whatever.
It's kind of weird. I haven't seen the musical, but I've been there, so. Like,
Okay.
No, I haven't.
You should watch it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It'll take up about 3.5 hours of your time, but yeah, good stuff. Josiah, what's the tallest, highest place you've been?
World Trade Center in Chicago.
Okay. He was born at 10,000 feet in elevation, your father says.
You failed to mention that. I wouldn't have remembered.
Okay, so
I was this tall. You got to subtract.
Exactly.
I'm now up here.
So conscious memories here, Josiah.
memories.
And Dad were conscious things that you could remember. World Trade Center, Chicago, you're saying. How did that feel to be looking out of that building?
Too far up for my liking, personally.
You don't like it?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. So the highest places I've been are in buildings, and I've been in the Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur, which used to be the tallest building in the world. I have been in the John Hancock building in Boston, at the very top of that. And Bridget and I, back in the 90s, went into the Sears Tower in Chicago. So I was the most high in Chicago for about 15 minutes, and it was great. But you don't like it?
Nope.
No, I don't like it either, because since we were there, they've built this bump out that you can walk out of the tower on glass and look down. That is never going to happen with me or anyone that I love. So I'm with you. The high place is kind of scary, but what did you look down?
Yes.
What did you see?
Very small people.
Very small people.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about looking down from the tallest building is you can see where those little tiny cars are driving, and you can see what's going to happen. They're going to hit road construction, and they can't see it, but you can. And so it's in their future, but you're seeing it right now. It's it's a feeling of kind of power, right? But you don't like it up there.
That power, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it
I'll
does.
take that.
I agree.
I'm not going to warn them. I'm going to just let them walk into their own fate.
Yeah, it's their problem. It's their future, and yeah, you're just observing. Okay, that suits me. Thank you all. I actually, there is a point to all of this. You can go sit down now. So, when we say that God is the Most High, we're saying something in our culture that is extremely controversial. We're saying there is no God who can compete with the true God. He is higher. His vantage point is more powerful. He sees everything that's going to happen, not just in a few city blocks like we could from tall buildings in Chicago. He can see everything that is going to happen instantaneously, all at once. He is the Most High. And when Abram handed the king of Sodom back his city, after the king of Sodom had called out to his gods and goddesses and lost his city, Abram said basically to him, "The Most High God just saved you today." And so when we look at Psalm 47, and we see here to the choir master, the psalm of the sons of Korah, "Clap your hands, all peoples, shout to God with loud songs of joy. For the Lord, the Most High, is to be feared, a great king above all gods." Let's just think about that right now, that the Lord is the Most High God. And Psalm 47, written centuries later, is calling back to that story and saying, think about that. You can call on any god, any goddess you want, but the Most High God is the only one who is powerful to save. Good morning. So, we've talked about the fact that the Lord is God Most High. No other God can compete with him. And there's another phrase here that the Lord is a great king over all the earth. So there's God Most High. No other God can compete with him. And he is a great king over all the earth. I want to focus on that word king right now. So I'm going to flash up here some pictures of kings. And I wonder if you will recognize them. So what do you think, Caleb? Can you do this? I think you can. Yeah, this is going to be good. So here's our first king. Do you recognize this man?
Elizabeth?
Who is this guy?
Is that the King of England?
That is the King of England. Yeah. Caleb, you just said a name there.
Yeah. I'm not really familiar with the names.
Okay, yeah. It's hard to keep track of. You said maybe this was Elizabeth. He kind of looks like his mother, doesn't he? Especially in this getup. So this is King Charles III, and Sigrid, where is he king?
Of England?
Yeah, and also they call him the King of Great Britain. He is the king over lots of different parts of the world. The Yesudasans are from India, and so he is the king over India. Australia, our friends to the north, Canada, they acknowledge him as king. Let me ask you a question. Caleb, do you think anybody obeys this king?
Uh-huh. The people of England.
The people of England, but I have to tell you, may be surprising. No one obeys King Charles. I know. He's got this crown, he's got the scepter, he's got the orb, you can see kind of at the bottom of the picture there. He's the head of the Church of England. One of his titles is Defender of the Faith. And you know what? No one obeys him. He has no power. The only things that he does are wear this crown and read his lines. That's basically his job. Although he does other publicity things. Now, what do you think about that? A king who nobody obeys. Does that sound right?
No.
No, it doesn't sound right. Sounds like all of this is about publicity rather than, yeah. Okay, so here's another one. Let's see if you know this person. Caleb, who is that?
That is the king of Madagascar.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So that's King Julian, right? And what animal is this?
A lemur.
He's a lemur. See, I don't even know what a lemur is, and I don't think this really tells me what a lemur is, because I don't think lemurs do that. That's a strange crown, don't you think? Do you like that crown?
Not really, but the only thing I know about lemurs is that they have big eyes.
Okay, so they're known for that. Does anyone obey this king?
Uh-huh. All the lemurs that in Madagascar.
Yeah, all the lemurs do. So what does he tell them to do?
I'm not sure because the last time I watched it was when I was 5 and now I'm 6, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's hard to remember that stuff. And I've actually never seen this movie all the way through. I come into, when the boys were watching this movie, I would come in and there would be this guy saying, move it, and dancing, and I would just, what is happening? And then I would leave. So I don't remember it either, but I know that he's supposed to be a king, and that when he starts singing and dancing, people obey him. Okay, so Sigrid, who is this? Remember that name I told you in this unrehearsed quiz show?
I think you said King Ludwig?
Yes. And he had a nickname.
Oh yeah, Mad King Ludwig?
Mad King Ludwig. He looks a little off in this photo. So let me tell you about Mad King Ludwig. King Ludwig II became king of Bavaria. You know where Bavaria is? No. Okay, it's in Germany. He became king of Bavaria in 1864. And that's probably when they took his picture here. And so King Ludwig wanted to live in a fantasy world. Do you like imaginary worlds, Caleb?
In my dreams, but not anywhere else.
Yeah, I prefer to keep them there too. It's just better for everybody. Sigrid, do you have an active imagination? You dreaming up stuff all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you try to put it in the real world, or do you just keep it imaginary?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, I do that too. So when most people today want to live in a fantasy world, they pull up YouTube. This guy wanted to live in a fantasy world, so he built castles. You know how many castles this guy built?
How many?
I think he built 5 or 6 castles. One wasn't enough. He built this famous thing. Have you ever seen this castle before? It's the Disneyland castle is modeled after this castle in Bavaria. Yeah.
I do recognize that now from commercials I see on TV.
Yes, it's iconic. Yeah. So he is known for this castle. He built another castle, not this one, but he built another one that had a lake underneath it. And he would be rowed around in this lake in a boat shaped like a shell. And so that's how he spent his time, building castles and being rowed around in lakes. What's that?
Why?
This is one of history's great questions. He liked opera, and it's just like he wanted his whole life to be an opera. Question.
Did he build it by himself? Or did he build it with workers?
Did he build it by himself? No, he hired workers. And one of the things that they didn't like about him, you guys can go sit down now. Great job, thank you. One of the things they didn't like about him was that he spent all of Bavaria's money on workers to build these castles. And so eventually the real leaders of Bavaria got tired of their king wasting their money. So they had him declared mad, and they packed him off to an asylum, and then they killed him. So it's dangerous being king sometimes. I'm being unfair. It's still under investigation all these years later what exactly happened to Mad King Ludwig. But anyway, there are kings in this world who are kings in their own minds. And there are kings in this world who you don't necessarily follow. You don't necessarily obey. And there are fantasy kings that we like to imagine in cartoons and sometimes movies. We like these stories about being kings and queens, princes. But the fact is, there is a king in the world. And he is king over all the earth. Every nation, every government, he is king over all of it. And Psalm 47 here is calling us to clap our hands, all peoples, and shout to God with loud songs of joy, and is calling us to praise God because he is the Most High, and he is a great king over all the earth. Here's how the psalm continues here. He subdued peoples under us and nations under our feet. He chose our heritage for us, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves. God has gone up with a shout, the Lord with the sound of a trumpet. Sing praises to God, Most High. Sing praises. Sing praises to our King. Sing praises. He is God and he is King. Those two things. We are to praise God for those things. Now, that's kind of a problem because sometimes in life things happen that you don't want to happen, and there are evil things happening in this world, and we wonder when bad things happen to us, where is God? I thought God was in charge. Why is he letting this stuff happen? So sometimes we have to trust him when things are not going the way we want them to go. We have to trust that he is king and that he is still in charge and he is most high. He sees everything we're going through and he cares for us in all of those things. We're going to take this a couple steps further in our next segment, but I think we're going to have another song for right now. Let's stand again. Let's take one last look at Psalm 47. And it's going to be about the thing we've been talking about for the last number of weeks, and will continue for a few weeks more, the Abrahamic covenant. In Genesis 12, God promised Abram that he would become a great nation, and that through Abram, all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Now think about what that might mean. Does that mean that Abram will be a really nice guy and will make people happy all around the world? Probably not. What does it mean that Abram will be a blessing to every nation in the world? It means that he's going to grow into a nation, a real place and a real people in the world, and that nation is going to be the source of blessing for all the peoples of the earth. And Genesis 14, the story about Abram saving the king of Sodom, that's just a foretaste of what is going to come. That little moment is Abram saying, God Most High saved you out of your trouble you richly deserved. He saved you, and he gave the king of Sodom an opportunity to turn from his gods and goddesses and to worship the true God, God Most High. He had that opportunity. The king of Sodom did not take that opportunity. But if we go to Psalm 47, we're going to see something different about how the world is going to end up. So, sing praises to our God, sing praises to our King, sing praises. For God is the King of all the earth, sing praises with a psalm. God reigns over the nations. God sits on his holy throne. Now watch this. The princes of the peoples, all of those nations, all of those kings, all of those governments, leaders, dictators, elected leaders, good leaders, bad leaders, the princes of the people gather as the people of the God of who? Abraham. We're saying that Abrahamic covenant actually is a key that unlocks the whole Bible, and it's unlocking Psalm 47 for us. This is saying that God is going to keep his promise to Abram, that Abram is going to be a blessing to all nations, and the Lord is saying, I am going to bring that about. Just the same way I worked in your life, Abram, I am God Most High. I am going to save all nations. I'm going to subdue them. I'm going to defeat them by defeating their gods and becoming the object of their worship, so that all nations gather before me and all nations worship me as God Most High. And that is the blessing to all nations. God promised it to Abraham all the way back in Genesis 12. And that promise grew and grew through Moses. It grew through David, as we've seen, and it's being referred to in the Psalms. And the Psalms are saying to us, this is going to happen. God is going to keep his promise to Abraham. He is going to make all nations the people of Abraham. You know what this means? No matter what nation you're from, and there are a lot of nations represented here this morning. China, I think Nigeria, Ethiopia, and it would be hard to list all of them. Finland. All the nations, no matter what nation you are from, in Jesus Christ, according to the promise of God, you are now brought in to the people of Abraham. You're now part of God's nation. And we all together, no matter what line of descent we come from, no matter what country we come from, what system of government, we are now part of the kingdom of God. And it's a kingdom that God has been building from Genesis on, and he will build it all the way to the end, to the last day. Now, I asked you to text some questions to me. I've gotten one or two, but there's a very good one here. I hope you'll continue. Let's see, where is that slide? There we go. I hope you'll continue to text me questions. This is a very good question. Why does the word fear appear so often? So in Psalm 47, it says we are to praise God because he is to be feared. Now we think that's a little bit strange. If we're praising God, doesn't that mean we aren't afraid of him? Why would we praise him because he is to be feared? The word fear comes up in the scriptures so much because he is God Most High. God Most High is a God to be respected, in awe of. He is to be held in honor. He is to be revered. That word revere or to reverence means we treat him as different. He's not like anything else. So when we come here and we worship him together, we do this with hearts filled with awe for who God is, his power, his ability to save us, the things that he has done for us. All of these things teach us to bow in reverence before him. And so that is why the word fear comes up so often. The blessing to all nations comes because God is moving into this world, breaking things, breaking systems, defeating evil, capturing our hearts, and drawing us to himself. Let's see, another question here. Is the psalmist mocking Baal by referring to Yahweh as the Most High? Great question. You know, Baal is a god in Canaan, and was constantly an idol that Israel went back to worship. And Baal means high. And so the way you worshipped Baal was you went out to high places and you worshipped the high god on those places. And the idea was that if you worshiped Baal, the land would be fertile and you would have children and all of these things, and he would bless you. Is Abraham and then later the psalmist mocking Baal by saying God is the biggest Baal? Yes. In fact, if you look at some of the things Baal was supposed to be able to do, send rain, send fire. He was the god of rain and fire in particular. Those were his superpowers. If you look at what Elijah does on Mount Carmel later on in the Bible, Elijah is mocking Baal because he says, I challenge you, break this drought, send rain, send fire from heaven to receive this sacrifice. Nothing happens. And so Elijah mocks Baal and the prophets of Baal and says, well, you've been calling out all this time. Cry louder. Maybe he's too far away to hear you. Maybe he's asleep. Maybe Baal went to the bathroom. That's literally what he's saying. Maybe you got to wait for him to finish his business and then come out and do the miracle. Nothing happens. When Elijah calls on the name of the Lord, fire comes from heaven and the rain starts and the drought is broken. So this reference here to the Most High God is absolutely mocking one of the idols in Canaan, Baal. Great question. You guys are on fire this morning in a good way. Can you talk about Melchizedek and who he was? How did Abraham know who he was? Okay, here's the Cliff Notes version on Melchizedek, because this is a huge subject. When Abram rescues the king of Sodom and he makes sacrifices to the Lord, he makes those sacrifices to a man named Melchizedek. He's a priest and he's a king. And it happens that he's the king of what we know as Jerusalem. He's the king of peace. And Melchizedek is also the king of Zedek righteousness. So Melchizedek is introduced in Genesis as if to say, this guy comes from nowhere, he has no family, he has no father or mother, he just shows up. No genealogy here. He's not part of Adam's race. So he's introduced in Genesis 14, he receives the sacrifice, he receives worship and the tithe from Abram, and he is the priest of God Most High. And so that's who Melchizedek is in a short version. And we are taught in the New Testament that this is what we call a type or a forecast or a prophecy of Jesus. Short version, Jesus was in Canaan with Abraham. And we will talk about that in a few weeks, but we're out of time for that question.